welcome to a earlier than usual edition of Cats Whiskers TV. As it's daylight and it's Sunday as we record this. We, of course, are starting early because of the Hamburg game coming up on Tuesday night, where myself and Aaron will be over there. So
keep rubbing it in, don't
sorry,
you?
well,
Yeah.
he's already there. Is Aaron? So he's just got me and Paul for this edition of Cats Whiskers TV. We'll be looking back very shortly at the Coventry game from Friday night and also the game in Sheffield last night before looking ahead to the Hamburg game and also this weekend's game against the Fife Flyers. So, Paul, as I've said already, joins me.
Didn't need to do that, did you? But go on, keep going.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So, Friday night, Coventry. We didn't really know what to expect too much, considering the amount of injuries that we have. We didn't know who was going to be on the bench, and in the end, I think we pulled out a very creditable 2-1 victory.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was my usual confident self before the weekend, but yeah, I mean, I think we did enough to win. Those 2 goals in the first period looked like they were effectively going to kill the game off. I don't think Coventry were particularly good first period, if I'm honest.
No, I mean, I think it's fair to say that the Panthers absolutely dominated that first period, and a 17-7 shot count backs that up.
I can't quite work out how they had 7 shots.
Yeah, I must admit, I think I counted 3 for definite, but oh well.
Yeah, we just didn't give them a chance. Throughout that period. To be honest, we didn't give them many at all. Throughout the game. I mean, the goal they got, we lost Ashley Tate, and it was then a very good pass. Wasn't his best shift of the game, Ashley Tate, I didn't think.
Oh, there's one you particularly like.
Yeah, the one where he skated on, had a whine at the referee, then skated off again. I thought that was particularly playing to his strengths.
Wow,
I think that's what you're looking for there, isn't it?
That's a textbook take shift, I think.
But the defence lost him for their goal. He put the pass across, and all Griffin had to do was hit it. Really.
Yeah, it was a well worked goal, but I think it was pretty much the only real clear cut chance that we gave them.
Yes.
In the entire 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I think another great positive for the Panthers from Friday night was the fact that we had Lewis Hook, Jordan Cowney, and Oliver Betteridge in from their respective EPL teams, and they slotted in as if they'd been with us all season. I thought they all were excellent. Yeah.
There was no, the credit to them. You couldn't look at them and said they're the EPL kids. They came in and they did a job, and a bit more practice and with the team, and maybe Cowney in particular. I thought stood out for me, and he could have. Yeah, he could have scored, but.
Well, I thought he had, because he did undress Stewart, and I think Stewart did well to get back across to stop a goal with a really good leg save.
He's an interesting one, isn't he?
He's unorthodox. I'll give him that, but he's the moment incredibly effective. I found him incredibly entertaining to watch for a netminder, because he's.
Because you watch him every week, isn't it? I say about all of them.
But I mean, 6'5", so he's not. He's not a natural netminder height.
He relies a lot, I think, on his leg speed. His moving across. I mean, I think any coach in the country who watches the highlights, if they show it from that game, will be able to see how to play a 2-on-1. Because he does come out a long way.
Yeah,
I thought come out a long way towards the puck carrier. All he's got to do is then make a very quick pass, and 3/4 of the net's open. We couldn't quite capitalise on it, which was unfortunate. Would have put the game to bed, I think. But he's interesting.
I think it'll be interesting to see how he goes on throughout the whole season, because he's done very well. I think he's got a very high save percentage of around 94% at the moment. But I was speaking to a Coventry fan in here after the game, and I was saying, he might get found out. He reminded me very much of how Rasto was when he came here. It's like the opposition teams couldn't work him out. Then the second season, they all did. And we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you've got to remember that that 94%, at least 2 of those games have been against us, and most of the time we couldn't hit a, you know, our shooting is not what it was, and I think that's, you know, we're talking and we're putting all the credit on, you know, the EPL players, and rightly so, but I think we've also got to look, and I know we're short, but our forwards really aren't firing. I mean, Chris Lawrence, I think, did something good for the first game. His goal was incredible. I mean, but you know, the night after, he's shanking on.
He's shanking
right
in front of the net, unfortunately. Yeah. Moving on to an incident that caused a lot of debate on social media, especially on Twitter on Saturday morning, is the Mexican wave that was asked for in the middle of the game while it was 2-1. And Ken Feast, the Panthers, announced coming for a lot of criticism. But to be fair to him, he stood up on social media and he asked what people wanted, and he asked for views, and I think you can't ask any more of that. He's probably I hold my hands up. I've probably made a bit of a mistake here, but give me the feedback. And he's really been very good at interacting with the fans, asking what they want as part of the match night presentation.
I'm sorry, he's going to get another view.
I'm sure he's expecting it. I know he watches.
As far as I'm concerned, there is a time and place for Mexican waves, and that's at a World Cup in the 1980s. I'm sorry, but I just associate a World Cup. I'm sorry, not World Cup. A Mexican wave with being bored.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's happening in the game, so we'll do a Mexican wave. 2-1 in a tight game. I'm sorry, but I don't think it's the place for it to be. I think we've seen it in games before where, you know, the start of the Mexican wave, and all of a sudden we've started playing worse. So it's almost like it's off-putting. To be honest, you know, if we're 3, 4, 5 goals up, chance of that happening, but you know, then or even I suppose that number down, then fair enough. You know, there's nothing to play for, but not when it's a tight game. I'm sorry, but
no, I mean, but on the other hand, I suppose you got to look at the atmosphere was quite flat. It wasn't a massive crowd on Friday. There was a lot of school parties in, and you know, fair play to Ken for trying to do something to get the crowd up and into the game.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, that's right. It's just that's not the right thing. But you know, talking about school parties, and this is not. I want to say this is not having to go at Ken. This is announcers in general. Why do announcers in general welcome school parties and new fans to games? Why do they never welcome back the people who've been going 30 odd years?
I don't know. I don't know.
Answers on a postcard, please. Yeah. 2, Jono Bullard. Where do you live again?
No.
4, I forgot.
I don't know. I suppose it's something like that. You know, new people. They've never been before. They don't know what to expect. It's nice to welcome them, I suppose.
But it's nice to welcome the likes of us who've been pumping money into the club for years.
Yeah, but would you want to welcome us the way we moan about everything?
It's not just us, Jono. It's not just us. There are other people out there. There are people who watch this. Not many, but there are people who watch this who I'm sure will agree with me. Move on.
Well, anyway, I managed to get a couple of messages to Ken. Unfortunately, with other commitments, he couldn't come on the show today, but he will be on a show later in the season. So
I'd better not turn up for that one.
I'm sure. So, you know, but I do think I've got to pay him an immense amount of credit in the fact that he is more than willing to come on shows like this to get ideas. He's more than willing to engage with fans on social media. So, you know, I think all credit to him. And I really hope the background noise of that motorbike at the traffic lights is coming through.
Gets across with that, you know, I hope everybody's been able to hear that deep, impassioned message to them. But you know, I agree with you. I mean, I've said time and time again, I'm not his target market. I'm just a grumpy old man who sits up the back moaning. And you know, he's got a job to do, and he does it very well, especially when you look at... they're really not going to hear any of this now.
And go on.
And I've lost the plot now. But, you know, when you compare it to some rinks we've been to quite recently, and their announcers, you know, he's one of the best.
Yeah, definitely.
And And I'm sorry if I don't always agree with what he does, but he does a very good job.
Okay, and I think we
It's
will
nice and
leave
quiet
that.
now, we can
We'll
move
leave
on.
that there. We're going to move on now to the game against Sheffield Steelers, a 4-2 defeat for the Panthers at the Motorpoint Arena in a Challenge Cup qualifying game. Now, you weren't there.
I watched Casualty. Jeff's dead. Jeff's dead.
Unbelievable.
I know.
I was
Terrible.
there, sadly. What can I say? It was positives. It was great to see David Clark score a couple of trademark goals after being out for so long. It's nice to see he hasn't lost his goal scoring touch, and they were both absolute rippers that he scored. Both power play as well. Good to see him back on the power play, which gives that special team a little bit more potency. Yeah, we were slightly down on bodies. We didn't have the likes of County Hook and Betteridge that we had on Friday night. But I have to say, and we'll come on to this in a minute from the debate that we had on Twitter and the comments that we asked for, but it was just, in my opinion, dull, boring, lifeless game. For this so-called biggest rivalry in Europe, it's dead for me. The rivalry is just completely and utterly dead. There was barely 300 Panthers fans in the building. There wasn't a big attendance there, and no matter how much that Dave Sims tries to hype
Somebody
it
appears
up,
to disagree with you.
you can't flog a dead horse. This is how bored I was last night after the game. I couldn't even bother to argue with my Steelers supporting wife about the result. That's how bad it was. And it's just... I'm sure there's plenty of Steelers fans who will disagree because they won. And I know some will probably think I'm just saying this because we lost. It's not. I think the last few games over the past couple of seasons have just been boring.
What are you expecting?
I don't know. I suppose it's... I mean, obviously, I remember the old school Panthers-Steelers games where there was a proper... The players hated each other and the fans hated the play. I mean, you had the likes of Cranston and Plomo, who, quite frankly, I wanted to see have their limbs ripped off every game that they played. I couldn't stand them.
I still quite like seeing now, if I'm honest.
But there's nobody in the current Steelers team that sort of stokes that fire. Sorry if I'm waving to someone off camera.
That's even less professional than me, that is.
But there's no one who just stokes that sort of anger and fuels that hatred anymore. I mean, okay, people may argue about Jason Hewitt, but at the end of the day, he's not very good, so you don't really...
He's just like a little dog yapping around your heels, isn't it? Give it a kick and it goes yelping into a corner. Not, of course, that I'm advocating being horrible to dogs, just Jason Hewitt.
I suppose what I'm trying to say, there's nothing different about those games anymore. They were the ones that you always used to pick out. You saw the fixture list go, right, these are when the Steelers games are.
But they still are that. You still see people saying, that the first games they look for are the Sheffield games. And at the end of the day, players, there's too much player movement now. I guess this is getting into the CWTV in a minute, but there's too much. There's nobody is long enough to hate them. Nobody. I mean, even Kelsey Wilson turned up, slightly upset them, and then left.
Yeah.
Well, went to Coventry. It amounts to the same thing, but
yeah, but it's just there's just nothing there to stoke. I mean, it's like, look how much they hated Barry Nycart. I mean, I
was never that keen.
But they had like a rabid hatred of him. They bought chickens with number 44 on the back. There's nobody there that stokes it up anymore.
Real chickens?
Well, no. Mind you, knowing that lot, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to smuggle them in. They tried to smuggle everything else into the
No, that's the French. It's the French who turn up with chickens for the rugby.
But, It's just I don't know. I just suppose it just really got me down because I looked around and just thought, is this what it's become? And it just saddened me really because I suppose I remember how intense it was, and now it's just another game for me.
But I agree with what you're saying. But by the same token, it's also always just been another game, really, because you don't get any more points.
True.
For beating Sheffield, and is it because players these days are more professional?
Possibly. I mean, I suppose when you look back to the early 90s, you had the likes of, you had a big British contingent, you didn't like each other, your imports tended to stick around for longer, so they didn't like each other. I mean, I remember a game, I think it was New Year around 94, where it kicked off after the first 30 seconds and 5 players were chucked out of the game, and that was a regular occurrence.
Was that the one where Simon Hunt put Les Miller's teeth down?
That was the one. That was that very game.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think most people with black and gold persuasion in the crowd enjoyed that night. But I don't know. And the thing is, I can't see what can be done to try and stoke it back up again.
Well, are we just going to do the CWTV now?
Well,
we might as well.
Yeah.
Because I know what a lot of people say, and the answer is, and I agree with them. But I don't see it happening. And that's to play fewer games.
Yeah, and basically, the response we got, overwhelmingly, the vast majority of responses that we did get were saying that it just happens too many times.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, we are going to play each other at least 10 times this season. Now, over a 7-month season, that's far too many. So just to pick out a few examples here.
I might as well just read the names of people who agree with that statement rather than what they've said.
I mean, I think it's interesting to read the non-Panthers Steelers fans who've responded. So Anthony Russell, Bison fan, he stopped playing each other every 5 minutes. Andy Stevenson, who's a Clan fan, play less games. It's the only way. And he says, I don't think we need the conference system anymore.
I don't think there's many his side of the border that would agree with that statement, but there you are.
I mean, is it a fault of the conference system?
It's not a fault of the conference system. I think it's a symptom of the conference system that, it means... I knew filming outside were a bad idea, but, but isn't... Was one of the reasons, looking at it from the outside, the conference system was brought in to increase attendances. And Panthers Sheffield, for all that, you're sitting here saying there's no rivalry, you're bored of it, or this, that and the other. At least our attendances for those games are way up.
But that's the other point. I mean, these games are so incredibly overhyped.
Yes.
I mean, you look... The releases that Steelers were putting out before yesterday's game was all like, talking to the players, these are special games, these are the ones we get up for. I think they just tunnel too much into these Panthers Steelers games.
It's no different.
And it's no different here.
It's here, this whole biggest rivalry in Europe has never been true. Every time I read that, I'm just embarrassed because the people who write it know it's not. We've been to Cologne, Dusseldorf. 17,000 in. How's that smaller than?
And they genuinely
the
don't like each other.
No, they don't. No. They have to put netting up. Stop them throwing things. But you go in there. You go in the toilets. They got the signs up telling you, who's coming up next. And the only hockey. We've touched on this before. The only hockey games that they mention are Panthers Steelers. Now, surely they're the ones that don't need advertising.
Because they're going to sell out anyway.
Advertise Edinburgh midweek when there's 3 men and a dog in. 3 men and a dog, sorry.
Couple more points, and these are coming from a couple of Steelers fans. So Richard Wilcox, can't be a rivalry on the ice. Players only been playing for clubs a few weeks. Rivalries take time to develop.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's very true.
Off ice, the rivalry is there. Don't say let's necessarily agree with that, to be honest. On ice,
hey. You don't agree with
I'm
arguing.
married to a Steelers fan.
Yeah, and I've had to sit there and watch you bicker, the pair of you.
And on ice, it isn't. The problem is with the players, not the amount of games played. So they're saying it's actually something to do with the players. Are they too familiar with each other?
But you know, how are they supposed to spark it then? I think what you've got now that you haven't necessarily had in the past is that the teams are of a fairly consistent level. There was a period where Sheffield was spending money like they hadn't got it. And they got a better team than we had. Then, last few years, it swapped round. Now I think we're a lot closer. So it means these games are going to be cagier, and somebody's not necessarily going to go out there and do something.
Like Kelsey Wilson did, I suppose. I suppose if anything was going to spark it, that did, and it didn't really.
And let's face it, we don't necessarily want one of our players to do something like that because they're going to get banned.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I would.
The answer is we do not have the answer.
Well, I have some suggestions. Is that just stop hyping it?
Yeah.
Just don't. They don't
leave that
need
to us.
Yeah, but no, don't. Just don't hype it. Don't overhype it. Treat it like another game. The fans are still going to turn up, regardless of how much hype you put out there.
Look at for me, one of the best games we've had against them in recent years is the playoff semi.
Yeah.
After, I don't want to talk about him again. A certain person made a certain statement in front of a certain bunch of Brayhead fans and his own fans about us.
Yeah.
After that, the rest of that week, there was nothing, and it was the best Panthers Steelers game I've seen in a long time, and a decent result. Yeah.
So, anyway, moving back onto the game from last night, I think
we shouldn't do this with an audience again.
Well, no. For me, the Steelers, they are a decent side. Their first line is outstanding. So Wyatt, Fretter, and Forney, absolutely outstanding. Very good. Probably will be the best top line in the league. They've got a player in Tyler Mosienko, and I know there's all jokes about what he got up to before he come here, but the reason he's here is because of what he did. Excellent player, was, for me, probably the best player on the ice last night. After that, they've got very little else.
I thought Eddie Cullen was quite good.
Didn't notice him last night. I didn't think he did that much last night. Doyle is obviously a very good netminder.
Sometimes.
He's been very good.
He's improving.
He's been very good to start the season. But after that, I don't see much else there. And the thing is, I know a lot of people have put them as title challengers or even favourites to win the title. I can't see it with the lack of depth they seem to have. I just can't. I just don't think that they've got the quality going straight through the roster to make them challengers. That's obviously only my opinion, but I think that they've very heavily stacked their sort of top 1.5 lines, and then it's not left much behind that.
We'll see.
We will see. As for us, I think we are in desperate need of a sniper. So David Clark coming back couldn't have happened too soon, but I just don't think there's enough around at the moment who can put the puck in the net.
I agree.
And we saw that last night. We had a couple of really gilt-edged chances to equalise in that game, and they weren't taken.
We've been talking about all the people that are out. Higgins is still out. Benedict is still out, and the impact that has on us. But at the end of the day, the players that are there have to step up. I mean, you think about your job, think about my job. Somebody's off sick. The rest of the team has to step up and get on with it. You can't sit there and say, oh yeah, we're not very good because these 3 people aren't here. You just still have to do it. So and that I think is right now where we're falling down. We're just not. I mean, it's 6 goals in the last 4 games.
Yes. It's not a great amount.
It's not championship winning.
No. Okay, thank you. We're going to finish off with a look ahead to the game against Hamburg in the Champions Hockey League on Tuesday night, and then 2 games against the Fife Flyers this upcoming weekend. So, Hamburg. Does it really matter what happens?
Not to me. Not really. You know, we're not going to go any. We're not going to progress.
Mm.
It'd be nice to come out with, with the win, even a draw. But you can't get draws, can you?
No, you
can
take it to overtime.
Yeah,
It'd be nice,
but I think the games the weekend after are far, far more important.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice after the fantastic result we got against Hamburg in the home game. It would be nice to sort of go out there and get something from the game. However, of course, they did sack their coach afterwards, and their results have improved immeasurably since. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get anything from the game. However, I think there's in the region of 300 Panthers fans travelling out there, and a couple of Steelers from what I can gather. But it'd just be nice to see a decent performance out there for me.
Yeah, that's all you can really expect now. Hamburg aren't going to want to let what happened the other week in there happen again. They're going to want to win in front of their home fans. So I think it will be we deserve to win that game, but I think it will be a far harder proposition this time round.
Okay, so looking ahead to next weekend, which, as you said, is probably at this point now the more important game. So
it's probably always been the more important game.
Back to league action. Of course, we've only played 2 league games so far. Fife Flyers, who have had some absolutely fantastic results, 6-1 away at Belfast just last week. They've also had a beating as well, an 8-1 in Sheffield, but that came the night after taking the Steelers to penalty shots in their own place. So Panthers, it's going to be a difficult couple of games, especially on the Sunday night up in what is always the raucous atmosphere of the Fife Ice Arena.
Yeah, it's you look at those results and think there could be a Jekyll and Hyde team, but
they seem to be coming into some form. They're stringing together some very, very good results at the moment.
You got to concentrate on the ones they've done well in, like the game in Belfast where they were about to be attacked by a pigeon, where I don't think anybody expected that. Probably least of all Fife fans, but they've shown that they've got the players that could cause you problems. And if we're not on the top of our games, then we're going to struggle.
I mean, I think the important thing for us is hopefully trying to get a few bodies back, have something close to a full squad to choose from. I'd be interested to see whether Nathan Robinson is available at the weekend, because obviously it's the final Champions League game on Tuesday.
Yes. Yeah.
It'd be very interesting to see what happens with his contract then, because effectively his short-term contract is over after Tuesday's game. Will he be available for the weekend?
I mean, it would be nice to see it, but I think what's got to do, and what is a test of whether it's a good, bad, indifferent, or great team, is how they react to being short-benched. Look at the Coventry game. We didn't expect anything from that. Well, I didn't expect it from that, but that they turned, sort of, and that especially that first period, they really controlled that game. Far more than we ever expected them to. So you've got to look at that as a positive. But they've got to do that if we want to get anywhere this season, even with the players out, and Benedict and Higgins are big losses, but the rest of the team have got to play to cover those gaps.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we will leave it there for this week. As I said, we'll be going out to Hamburg. We'll be doing a podcast. Hopefully talking to a few fans while we're out there. So please come and say hello if you see me in Hamburg, and Aaron as well. And then we will be back next week. We'll be looking back at the Fife Flyers games and looking ahead to the following weekend.
Are you going to bring me a present?
I might do. So until next week, thanks for joining us. Goodbye.